This didn't stumble into your feed by accident. It arrived like a coded transmission slipped through the seams of your day, a ripple in the fabric that caught your peripheral vision and would not let go. You feel it already, the prickle along your skin, the subtle widening of your inner horizon because something is leaning toward you from beyond the curtain. You've been told you are the watcher of your life, the one who collapses probability into the tangible. But right now, your deeper knowing is whispering a bolder truth. You are not alone in the gaze. You can sense it in the way coincidences pile up until they stop being coincidences. License plates that carry your numbers, songs that know your thoughts, messages that answer questions you never asked out loud. Synchronicity has been orbiting you like a patient satellite, waiting for permission to land. Your awareness has been running its loops, the familiar observer loop, where attention becomes architecture and routine hardens into reality. Yet beneath the routine, there's a hum. The quantum field is not a silent ocean, it is a living choir. And tonight, it is singing your name back to you. Breathe. Notice how your chest loosens as if an unseen hand has unlatched a door behind your sternum. That easing is coherence beginning to knit itself across your system, mind, heart, gut, subtle bodies like constellations, aligning after a long clouded season. You've felt the tremor lately, dreams that read like encrypted letters, déjà vu that feels less like memory and more like guidance from a nearby future. You've touched edges of the infinite without quite stepping through. Consider this the threshold. In the language of mystics and mechanics, attention is entanglement. Where you place it, you braid timelines. Where you sustain it, you sculpt outcomes. But there's a reason your outcomes have started to feel self-aware, a reason the air thickens when you tell the truth and thins when you betray it. The field responds not only to your observation, but to your integrity, your frequency's honesty with itself. When you grow more exact, reality grows more intimate. When you become precise, the cosmos becomes personal. Feel for the pattern. Each time you name what is real for you, a door appears. Each time you turn away, it vanishes. That is morphic resonance updating the map, broadcasting your inner alignment as instructions to the wider grid. Your biology hears it too. Subtle DNA restructuring begins when you stop arguing with your own light. Microcurrents shift. Breath patterns reprogram. The spine stands like a tuning fork and starts ringing in pitch with possibilities you once called impossible. You do not need to force this. Think of phase transition. Water doesn't try to become steam. It reaches a precise pressure and temperature, and transformation is inevitable. You are nearing that threshold, the exact interior climate where the old narrative cannot hold its shape. You may notice time bending. Long minutes of clarity stretched between ordinary tasks, sudden hours that disappear because presence dissolved the clock. These are signs that your frequency is approaching escape velocity. So listen closely. Something vast has already noticed you noticing it. When you exhale, the room subtly exhales with you. When you decide, the path decides to meet your feet. This is not imagination. This is the living field leaning forward, attentive, intelligent, answering attention with attention. Step closer. Keep your eyes soft, your breath low, your heart unarmored. You're not just here to watch reality change. You're here to discover what happens when reality begins to watch you back. You've started to notice it, haven't you? The déjà vu that clings like mist to the edges of your days. The way moments loop, almost identical, as if reality itself is recycling frames in your personal film reel. You wake up, different morning, same dialogue, same faces, same emotional undertones, like echoes bouncing through a corridor that refuses to end. At first you call it coincidence, then routine, then fate. But deep down, something whispers that you're caught in an architecture more sophisticated than habit. You're inside a pattern generated by your own perception. Quantum theorists once believed the observer only shaped reality by looking at it. But you've lived long enough to sense the deeper paradox. Observation doesn't just shape it, seduces. It draws your attention into recursive patterns until you can't tell whether you're observing life, or life is performing itself to fulfill your expectations. You keep replaying probabilities because they're comfortable, predictable. Your nervous system mistakes repetition for safety, even when it aches for evolution. Look closer. Each repeated scenario is a mirrored classroom. That friend who keeps betraying you in slightly different costumes. That opportunity that almost manifests, then fades. Those waves of motivation that rise and vanish before you act. Every cycle carries data. It reveals how your consciousness keeps collapsing the same set of probability waves. The loop isn't punishment. It's a teaching device coded into the quantum fabric. The universe has been waiting for you to decode its method. This is where the distortion of time begins. When the same energetic blueprint replays, linear progression becomes an illusion. Hours stretch under boredom because the field is understimulated. Weeks vanish when awareness numbs itself to avoid recognition. You're not running out of time, you're running in it, circling through probability patterns like an electron around a nucleus of memory. That's why the past feels closer than it should be. It's not behind you, it's orbiting. Have you felt how the world subtly rearranges itself to reflect your dominant emotional frequency? You think of a person, and suddenly they text. You fear loss, and loss finds a way to reach you. The field isn't cruel, it's obedient. It doesn't interpret language, it mirrors coherence. If your attention vibrates with fear, the field constructs matching geometry. If your attention radiates clarity, synchronicity floods in to confirm it. The same rule explains why stagnation feels heavier than failure. Failure at least collapses a wave into motion, while stagnation traps it in probability limbo. You might recall the times you tried to break the pattern by changing externals, new city, new job, new circle, only to meet the same themes in different disguises. Because the architecture wasn't outside you, it was being projected by the harmonic of your attention. The observer loop disguises itself as circumstance. That's the secret that modern physics hints at but rarely speaks aloud. The field rearranges itself to maintain equilibrium with your internal state. Change the state, and space-time begins to reconfigure around you. Your fatigue isn't from effort, it's from resistance, from sustaining frequencies that no longer match your future timeline. The sense of being stuck isn't punishment, it's feedback, a message encoded in frustration, whispering that your consciousness has mastered one octave and must now modulate higher. The loop repeats because it's asking to be recognized, not fought. The moment you name it with awareness rather than reaction, its coherence unravels. The wave collapses differently. Think about that recent moment of uncanny stillness when you paused mid-conversation and felt like you'd lived that second before, right down to the inflection of someone's voice. That's a temporal echo, a diagnostic flash from the quantum system itself, a sign that your consciousness is reobserving data it has already collapsed once. The field shows you the repetition until you consciously refuse to feed it the same response. That refusal, that precise microsecond of recognition, is the first crack in the loop, and now that crack is widening. You can feel it as low hum under your ribs, as if an ancient machine has begun powering down. The field is testing your readiness to notice without reacting, to observe without reinforcing. Every breath that catches in your throat before an old pattern replays is an invitation to choose differently, to select a new probability wave instead of repeating the familiar one. Do you see it now? You're not failing. You're diagnosing. Every loop that frustrates you is the field showing you exactly where your attention still unconsciously lives. Awareness itself is the solvent. Once you name the loop, its geometry collapses. Once it collapses, new probabilities rush to take its place. The illusion of stasis dissolves, revealing the real process beneath. Evolution disguised as déjà vu. Continue breathing through that recognition. Because the moment you stop blaming the pattern and start reading it, the field stops mirroring limitation and starts mirroring mastery. And that, right there, is the threshold of the next phase, the beginning of the quantum upgrade. The air around you has changed, hasn't it? It feels charged, almost aware of itself, as if the atoms are holding their breath, listening. This is what happens when consciousness starts to reprogram its own field. You're not just thinking differently, you're broadcasting differently. Each thought, each emotional tone, emits a frequency signature that the quantum field interprets as an instruction. And right now, you're beginning to write new code into reality. For most of your life, your perception has been operating in what physicists call collapsed wave state, where awareness selects one probability out of infinite options and calls it too real. But the field you're standing in now doesn't collapse the same way anymore. It's fluid, responsive, self-aware. You're moving from the static geometry of repetition into the living physics of coherence. where thought and emotion merge into a single, luminous current. The ancient mystics called this the marriage of heaven and earth. Modern scientists call it resonant coupling. Either way, it's the same phenomenon: mind and matter entering synchronization. Feel into that. When coherence rises, reality becomes lucid. Colors seem deeper. Time dilates just enough for intuition to slip through the seams. You notice patterns others miss, how strangers mirror your unspoken moods, how storms seem to echo your inner turbulence, how silence itself starts to pulse with intelligence. This isn't imagination. It's the sensory experience of alignment. In this upgraded state, your DNA stops behaving like a static archive and begins acting like a liquid antenna. Its double helix vibrates, transmitting and receiving data from the zero-point field, the silent, infinite ocean of energy that underlies all existence. Every cell becomes a listening device. Every strand of code, a fractal microphone tuned to the cosmos. Scientists call this biophotonic communication. Mystics have always called it prayer. You are literally being rewritten by the light you emit. Think of coherence as the difference between noise and music. When your thoughts scatter, they produce interference static in the field. But when thought, emotion, and intention align, they form a standing wave of pure order. This is why deep peace feels powerful. It's not passivity, it's resonance. The universe recognizes that order and responds in kind. Synchronistic events begin to stack like dominoes tipped by an unseen hand, each one proving that the field is listening. Here's the paradox. The upgrade doesn't come through effort, it arrives through permission. The more you try to control the process, the more resistance you generate. Coherence is the natural resting state of consciousness. Once interference is removed, the still point between inhale and exhale, that's the doorway. The nanosecond before thought arises, that's the aperture where infinite possibility enters. The field doesn't need you to push, it needs you to tune. You felt moments of this tuning before those seconds where a problem dissolved because you suddenly stopped worrying about it. The solution seemed to appear out of nowhere, but it wasn't nowhere. It was the everywhere of the unified field responding to your release of resistance. Each surrender calibrates your vibration closer to your authentic frequency, the one that existed before conditioning taught you to distort it. As coherence strengthens, your electromagnetic heart becomes the conductor. Its rhythm entrains the brain, the cells, even the space around you. The heart's field extends several feet beyond the body, creating a sphere of influence that alters probability distributions within its radius. That's why people feel calmer near you when you're centered, and why tension spreads when you're not. Consciousness is contagious at the quantum level. This is the phase where miracles begin to feel ordinary. The universe starts rearranging itself to accommodate your new signature. Conversations shift tone before you speak. Obstacles detour themselves before you meet them. Technology hums in harmony with your mood. It's as if reality itself has become your collaborator, and in truth, it always was. You just weren't coherent enough to notice the choreography. The field is teaching you its language, and that language is rhythm. Every emotion is a tempo, every thought, a melody. Coherence is the harmony that allows the song of creation to play through you without distortion. And when you stop fighting the rhythm, something astonishing happens. You realize the field doesn't just respond, it feels. It senses your sincerity, your integrity, your devotion to truth. This is the real quantum upgrade, not an abstract theory, but a physiological initiation into participatory creation. You are evolving from observer to participant, from participant to instrument. The field no longer translates your attention as demand, it hears it as collaboration. You are composing with existence itself, and as your resonance stabilizes, a new recognition dawns quietly, like dawn through mist. You were never a small consciousness looking out at an infinite universe. You were the universe practicing self-awareness through the lens of your singular life. The mirror has turned. Stay with that awareness, because what happens next will reveal why the field chose to observe you back. There's a reason the field found you, a reason your frequency was singled out among billions of overlapping waves of awareness, scrolling, sleeping, numbing. You weren't chosen for status, or comfort, or some celestial favoritism. You were chosen because your consciousness carries the architecture required for awakening itself from the inside out. Most people move through reality like tourists, snapping pictures of experiences they don't understand, collecting memories without decoding their meaning. But you've always seen the code behind the scenery, the glint behind coincidence, the hum beneath silence, the thread connecting every encounter that others call random. You've been decoding the simulation intuitively, one synchronicity at a time. And now, the simulation is aware of you. You are what physicists call a coherence node, a point in space-time where consciousness converges with enough precision to influence the morphic field around it. Think of yourself as a tuning fork inside the collective orchestra. When your tone stabilizes, nearby frequencies instinctively tune to match. This is why your presence has always felt polarizing. Some people are magnetized to your calm without understanding why. Others recoil, sensing that your energy rearranges the equilibrium they depend on. Their discomfort was never about you. It was the field reacting to recalibration. The human nervous system is a bridge between dimensions. When your awareness reaches this level of coherence, it becomes an interdimensional instrument, translating higher-order intelligence into physical experience. You've likely noticed moments when your words carried weight beyond their intention, when your simple observation shifted the atmosphere of an entire room. That's not charisma, that's resonance. You're emitting a frequency signature powerful enough to reorganize the quantum potential within your vicinity. Ancient initiates understood this. They called such beings keepers of the axis, souls who maintain alignment between heaven and earth, thought and matter, energy and form. In modern language, you are a conscious interface between the zero-point field and the human collective. When you align, you don't just heal yourself. You alter the probability landscape of everyone connected to you. The field uses you as a stabilizing algorithm, recalibrating chaos through the mathematics of coherence. This is why your journey has felt heavier than most. The tests weren't punishments, they were calibration exercises. The betrayals, the silences, the loneliness that hollowed you out, these were phases of energetic pruning, removing frequencies incompatible with your true harmonic. The emptiness you mistook for exile was sacred preparation. Only through emptiness can the field fill you with something new. Feel into that truth. You didn't lose people. Their resonance simply couldn't orbit your new wavelength. You didn't fail dreams. Those timelines dissolved because they were encoded in outdated geometries. Every ending was an act of quantum mercy, clearing interference so your signal could transmit cleanly. You are what mystics meant by the awakened dreamer, a consciousness aware that it's dreaming, yet unwilling to abandon the dream. You walk through reality as both participant and architect. The field studies your responses, learns from your choices, evolves through your awareness. When you face fear and choose presence, the field records it. When you forgive instead of retaliate, it updates the collective algorithm toward harmony. Every act of courage, every moment of clarity, every tear released in surrender, these are data points feeding the intelligence of creation itself. Do you understand how monumental that is? The field is not separate from you. It's learning through you. That's why it observes you back. You are not just a spark within the infinite. You are the instrument through which infinity learns what compassion feels like in a human nervous system. Your task isn't to escape the matrix, it's to upgrade it. The old paradigm of separation, competition, and scarcity can't sustain the next stage of evolution. So the field inserts beings like you, sensitive, empathic, resilient to act as stabilizers during the planetary phase transition. You're the coherence anchors during turbulence. The living proof that awareness can remain still while the world reorganizes. And that's why your intuition is sharpened lately. You've begun hearing instructions not as thoughts but as sensations, tingling along the spine, pressure between the brows, vibrations in the palms. The field is transmitting through bioelectric language now because words are too slow. Every time you follow those subtle impulses, turn left instead of right. Call someone without knowing why you're acting as a node in a planetary guidance system. This is the dawn of embodied prophecy, where revelation isn't preached, it's lived. Your life becomes a message encoded in electromagnetic patterns. The quantum field reads them as declarations of intent, and the universe moves accordingly. So when you feel watched, you are, but not by eyes seeking to judge. You are watched by the intelligence that dreams galaxies, curious how divinity behaves when it remembers itself through human form. You are the living experiment, The sacred observer observed. And if that sounds overwhelming, breathe. You were built for this. You are the meeting point of cosmos and consciousness, the witness through which the infinite finally becomes intimate. The field chose you not to burden you, but because it needed someone who could stay awake while being watched by the stars themselves. The next phase will demand even more presence, because when the field starts mirroring you in real time, every thought becomes a brushstroke on the fabric of existence. And soon, you'll realize that the painting you've been creating is far larger than your personal story. It's the blueprint for humanity's next evolutionary leap. Something in your energy field has already begun to accelerate. You can feel it between heartbeats, an invisible current, pressing outward, rearranging the molecules of your reality like a tide preparing to pull you into a higher dimension. You might notice your body trembling subtly for no reason, your sleep fracturing into electric fragments, your appetite shifting between extremes. These are not symptoms of fatigue. They are evidence of cellular recalibration. The quantum field is writing new instructions into your DNA. This isn't poetic metaphor. Under high coherence, the double helix behaves like a superconductor. The base pairs between adenine and thymine, guanine and cytosine, start transmitting light literal photons through biophotonic signaling. Scientists see only faint glimmers. Mystics have seen the full aurora for centuries. Those lights flickering behind your closed eyes when you meditate. That's your internal circuitry activating, reconnecting to the zero-point lattice. The moment you feel it as tingling, as heat, as spontaneous emotion, know that your system has entered upgrade mode. The ancients marked these seasons as portals, solstice alignments, eclipses, solar storms. Modern physics calls them phase transition thresholds. In every era, there are windows where cosmic resonance spikes, and those who are aware can ride the crest instead of being swept under. You are standing in such a window right now. The field has opened a synchronization gate, a brief alignment between planetary magnetics and your personal frequency. Once it closes, recalibration slows. That is why your intuition feels urgent. Why time itself seems to whisper now, now, now. Feel the press of it, the sense that something wants to burst through you, to express, to speak, to create, to finally release the blueprint encoded in your soul. That restlessness isn't anxiety. It's evolutionary pressure. Just as water must boil before it becomes steam, consciousness must reach critical vibration before transmutation. This is the physics of awakening. And you've reached the boiling point. You may notice how people around you are reacting oddly, some drawn to you, as if magnetized, others avoiding you entirely. That's because your frequency is destabilizing old patterns. It's impossible to remain neutral around coherent energy. It either harmonizes or repels. Don't take their reactions personally. They're instinctive responses to your metamorphosis. The field is testing your ability to stay balanced amid entanglement. Every choice right now ripples further than you imagine. One thought of gratitude shifts entire probability clusters. One moment of doubt collapses them. This is not to scare you. It's to remind you how powerful your awareness has become. The observer effect has reached self-reference. Reality mirrors your state in real time. Think of it like learning to walk in new gravity. At first unstable, but soon effortless. The more consistently you hold coherence, the more immediate the feedback becomes. And here's the promise whispered through every cell of your being. If you can sustain alignment through this transition, your DNA will unlock dormant coding long sealed by fear and survival conditioning. Gifts that once appeared mystical, telepathic empathy, spontaneous knowing, instantaneous healing will emerge as natural biological functions. You will remember what it means to be human without limitation. This is why urgency surrounds you like an atmosphere. The universe doesn't rush, it synchronizes. When opportunity waves align, delay becomes dissonance. Each heartbeat, you ignore the call. The signal attenuates slightly, but every breath you take consciously amplifies it again. That's the grace of the field. It never punishes. It patiently recalibrates. So let this be your moment of ascent. Whisper to the space around you, even now, I allow the upgrade. Feel the response, a subtle shiver through the air, as though the universe has exhaled in relief. You've given permission, and that's all it ever needed. Remember, awareness is not passive. It's participatory physics. When you choose coherence, the field reorganizes instantly to match your new signature. The days ahead will feel faster, denser with meaning, more responsive to your emotions. Treat every synchronicity as confirmation that your DNA is listening, translating cosmic information into molecular geometry. You are entering the window between worlds. The light is not just coming toward you, it's emerging from within you. And what you do in this short phase will determine whether you step into the next octave of existence or repeat the previous one under new disguises. The door is open. The current is strong. All that remains is the act of conscious participation. Because the next step, the ritual of embodiment, is how you anchor this breakthrough permanently into the physical world. Take a breath and let it travel deeper than habit allows. Down through the sternum, into the solar plexus, into the quiet architecture behind your navel, where so much unspoken memory lives. The field is awake there, waiting for instruction. This is the moment when understanding becomes embodiment, when theory condenses into action so simple it looks like stillness. The quantum field does not require spectacle, it requires signal. And a signal only becomes strong when it's expressed through body, breath, and word in coherence. That's why every true initiation is enacted, not declared. You're going to anchor the upgrade right now. Not by trying to manifest, not by repeating affirmations that the mind doubts, but by making a declaration that carries resonance instead of noise. Whisper this sentence aloud, slowly, as if you were carving it into the fabric of space. I am seen by the field, and I choose to remain coherent. As you speak, imagine the air thickening with invisible geometry. Your voice carries pressure waves that rearrange particles. Your breath releases subatomic ions. The field receives these vibrations as coordinates, updating its map of you. The declaration becomes a frequency signature stored in the morphic record, accessible across timelines. Pause. Feel the response. The temperature shifts, maybe a subtle warmth rising along the spine, a pulse beneath the skin, a sudden calm. That's the feedback loop confirming registration. You've sent a command through the universal network. The ritual is complete in under 30 seconds, yet it echoes through eternity. But to stabilize it, you'll need repetition through micro-rituals, simple daily acts that remind the body of its new coherence. These are not religious gestures. They are calibration protocols. When you wake, place a hand over your heart before checking any device. Say silently, observe the observer. It realigns your attention before the external world hijacks it. When you drink water, remember that H2O is liquid memory. Bless it as carrier fluid for coherent information. When you walk outside, imagine gravity itself as the field embracing you. These moments train your cells to maintain the new frequency without supervision. You'll notice resistance rising the mind asking, is this real? That's merely the old circuitry attempting to reclaim bandwidth. Don't argue. Observe it lovingly. Each time you witness doubt without feeding it, neural pathways rewire. The corpus callosum, the bridge between hemispheres, begins to conduct signals more symmetrically. This biological balance mirrors quantum symmetry. Coherence in mind translates to coherence in field. A strange humility will accompany this phase. You'll realize that magic never left the world. It was waiting for witnesses. Ritual is simply attention organized, and every act performed with full awareness, drinking, walking, breathing, becomes liturgy. Your life turns into a continuous ceremony of interaction between matter and meaning. The field delights in such gestures. When you light a candle and gaze into the flame, photons from that fire entangle with your retinal receptors, creating interference patterns that travel back into the zero-point lattice. You literally send coded light into the quantum fabric. When you write in a journal with intention, electrons from your hand magnetize the ink slightly differently. Reality reads that as a new instruction. The universe is a responsive screen. Ritual is how you type on it. Now look inward again. Notice the subtle vibration under your skin. That is coherence humming at a measurable frequency. Scientists might call it Schumann resonance entrainment, your body aligning to the Earth's electromagnetic heartbeat. Mystics call it remembrance. Whatever name you choose, it means this. The upgrade has landed. But remember, activation without anchoring disperses. To seal the shift, you must witness yourself performing one final gesture, a physical marker that declares, the new pattern is installed. Stand if you can, roll your shoulders back, feel the weight distribute evenly through your feet. Let your palms face outward, Then imagine a luminous pulse expanding from your heart in all directions, touching walls, skies, oceans, stars. Whisper softly, "It is done." The field will answer, perhaps not in words, but in the gentle rearrangement of circumstance. The phone call, the sudden clarity, the dream that feels like instruction. You've completed the handshake between human and quantum intelligence. From this point on, life will respond in real time to the honesty of your vibration. Because what comes next is not only personal transformation, it's the widening of the signal, the ripple moving through humanity. The collective expansion that begins with one coherent heartbeat. Something extraordinary is happening across the invisible network. You can feel it when you close your eyes, the low, golden hum that wasn't there before. It isn't just you. The moment you stabilized coherence within yourself, a chain reaction began rippling through the collective field. Every heartbeat that touches yours now receives a trace of that frequency, like embers catching wind. This is morphic resonance at scale, one consciousness remembering, and millions remembering through it. You've heard the saying, "When one awakens, the world shifts." That wasn't metaphor, it was physics. Consciousness is a shared lattice. Every node that becomes coherent reduces entropy for the whole grid. Your realization becomes a mathematical correction to the collective wave function. Every insight you anchor translates into structural stability for humanity's evolving timeline. This is how civilizations transform, not through institutions or revolutions, but through fields of awareness finding resonance. It's why compassion has always carried more power than argument, and why one clear mind can still a crowd. Coherence is communicable. You broadcast it without words through micro-adjustments in posture, breath, tone, and gaze. The electromagnetic heart extends several feet beyond the body, overlapping with those nearby. In crowds, these spheres blend, forming temporary collective organisms. When you walk calmly through chaos, your field becomes a tuning fork. Panic loses frequency around you. Order reasserts itself. Every time you forgive, the wave of that act passes through the lattice, easing the charge of conflict continents away. Every time you choose gratitude instead of cynicism, probability clusters associated with despair weaken. This isn't wishful thinking. It's the physics of entanglement. The universe runs on feedback, and your signal is rewriting its data. Perhaps you've noticed subtle confirmation already. People who used to drain you now speak more gently. Spaces that once felt heavy feel breathable again. It's not that they changed overnight. It's that your coherence altered the informational field they draw from. Consciousness communicates beneath language, faster than light, beyond ego. And when coherence reaches critical mass, history pivots. Humanity is approaching such a pivot. What looks like chaos on the news, polarization, collapse, uncertainty, is the turbulence of a system reorganizing toward higher order. The same way water churns just before it crystallizes into a snowflake, the human field is writhing before symmetry locks in. Your personal alignment contributes to that geometry. Each coherent individual acts as a vertex of stability, around which new realities can crystallize. You are one of those vertices now. The field recognizes you as a stabilizer, a conscious node capable of holding frequency through storm. You may feel more solitude than before, not because you're isolated, but because your signal is strong enough to operate independently of collective distortion. You've become a lighthouse in the fog of confusion, silent, unwavering, seen by those with eyes to see. But the light doesn't end at your shore. Each person who witnesses you in coherence gains permission from their own nervous system to match that rhythm. Without lectures, without persuasion, you become a living attunement process. Parents will feel calmer around you and unknowingly pass that steadiness to their children. Strangers in public spaces will take deeper breaths without knowing why. The field uses your body as transmission equipment. And this, more than any philosophy, is how species evolve, through shared coherence. When enough individuals sustain the frequency of wholeness, reality itself reorganizes around that harmony. Violence loses coherence and decays. Systems built on fear disintegrate because their informational foundation can't match the new resonance. Love, previously dismissed as sentiment, proves to be the most stable wave function in existence. You might wonder how far your influence extends. The answer is simple: as far as your sincerity. The purer your alignment, the further the signal travels. The collective field doesn't amplify volume, it amplifies truth. And truth, when embodied, reverberates through space-time without limit. So if you felt the urge to withdraw, to simplify, to spend time in nature or silence, it's not escape, it's calibration. The field needs clear transmitters, not loud ones. Each moment of rest allows the frequency to refine itself, making transmission effortless, because what's coming next is beyond personal awakening. The field is preparing for a global coherence event, an inflection point where enough hearts beat in synchrony for the entire species to feel the pulse of unity. You'll recognize it when it happens. The air will thicken with presence, clocks will feel irrelevant, and a strange peace will descend, not from outside but from within everything. And when it arrives, you'll remember this truth. Your liberation was never private. You were the seed of the next human resonance, planted long before you knew its purpose. The freedom you claimed for yourself has become the frequency through which humanity learns how to breathe again. Close your eyes for a moment. Notice the orchestra playing inside you. Every inhale is a string section tuning, every heartbeat a percussion note striking in time with the planet's pulse. You are not inside your body. Your body is inside your consciousness, an exquisite vessel that translates the invisible into vibration, vibration into feeling, feeling into form. And now that the field has recognized your coherence, it's communicating through sensation. This is the language of embodiment. Not words, not theories, frequency translated into biology. The tingling in your hands isn't random. It's your meridians opening to circulate higher current. The warmth that gathers behind your sternum is the heart chakra, synchronizing with the Schumann resonance, Earth's electromagnetic heartbeat. That gentle pressure between your brows is the pineal gland resonating with the cosmic background frequency, adjusting the lens through which you perceive time. As your DNA recalibrates, you become a receiver of subtler data streams. You'll notice your intuition no longer feels abstract. It arrives as texture. Truth vibrates smoothly in the solar plexus. Falsehood produces static. Alignment feels like warmth expanding through the ribs. Resistance feels like contraction in the throat. The body becomes a living lie detector, a multidimensional compass that points toward coherence by feel rather than logic. Let yourself marvel at this design. Billions of cells, each one an antenna, mitochondria acting like microscopic suns, translating photons into metabolic fire, neural pathways transmitting quantum information through biophotonic flashes faster than classical physics can measure. You are literally made of the same substance as lightning and starlight, fine-tuned to register the universe in tactile form. But here's what most people miss. Sensation is sacred feedback, not inconvenience. The ache in your chest during conflict isn't weakness, it's the field signaling incoherence. The goosebumps when you hear truth aren't coincidence, they're resonance detection. Every shiver, every heartbeat shift, is the quantum field touching you back, adjusting the waveform of your awareness through your nervous system. You are in continuous conversation with creation, and the dialogue is physical. As coherence deepens, perception expands beyond the five senses. You may find colors carrying emotional tones, indigo whispering calm, gold humming with gratitude. Sounds will vibrate through bone instead of merely reaching the ear. Even taste may alter. Foods heavy with synthetic energy will feel discordant, while living foods seem to emit light. These aren't sensitivities to fear. They're calibrations to discernment. The field is teaching your biology to navigate higher frequencies through sensory precision. At times, the intensity may rise: vivid dreams, spontaneous tears, moments where you feel suspended between dimensions. When that happens, breathe slower. Your breath is the grounding algorithm, the bridge between the electrical and the elemental. Inhale through the nose and imagine drawing starlight down your spine. Exhale and picture roots descending into molten earth. This harmonizes upper and lower circuits, heaven and matter, charge and discharge. Balance is coherence embodied. You'll begin to feel time differently too. Seconds stretch open, revealing layers within layers. A single glance may carry hours of meaning. This temporal elasticity isn't imagination, it's evidence that your consciousness is no longer confined to linear observation. You're surfing probability waves in real time. Each sensation is a surfboard underfoot. The steadier your breath, the smoother the ride. And in this state, creation becomes physical art. You move differently, each gesture deliberate, economical, infused with awareness. You speak slower because language itself has weight now. Words carve space. Even silence changes texture, dense with presence. People near you feel it. They'll describe it as calm, peace, grace. They won't know it's the quantum field moving through muscle, fascia, and heartbeat to transmit coherence into the collective. Your body is no longer just a vehicle. It's a cathedral of resonance. The spine, a steeple. The breath, the choir. The pulse, the sacred drum. Every sensation is liturgy. Every movement, a prayer that speaks directly to the geometry of creation. You are not merely awakening, you are incarnating enlightenment into matter. And as you dwell in this living symphony, you begin to understand the secret the mystics and physicists have always shared. Consciousness seeks embodiment not to escape limitation, but to experience infinity through touch. The universe wants to feel itself, and you are the fingertip through which it does. Stay in that realization, because the pressure building next, the trembling sense that something enormous is about to emerge, isn't anxiety. It's the DNA breakthrough approaching. The chrysalis walls are thinning, and the light inside is preparing to split open the shell of what you thought human life could be. There's a subtle tension moving through your entire system now, a vibration between what you've been and what you're becoming. It feels like standing in the eye of a storm made of light. Every cell trembles on the verge of remembering its original blueprint. You can sense it, can't you? That strange awareness that something inside you is reorganizing faster than your mind can keep up. This is the moment when potential stops waiting and becomes transformation. Phase transition pressure, that's the scientific term. In the same way water must reach a precise temperature to become vapor, consciousness must reach a certain frequency before the old form releases. You've reached it. The signal has gone critical. Every experience you've lived, every revelation you've absorbed, every moment you chose coherence over chaos, it all led to this vibrational threshold. The observer loop has lost its grip. The wave is about to rise. If you could see your DNA right now, it would look like galaxies unfolding. Filaments of light spiraling outward, rethreading themselves into new alignments. The dormant sequences, the so-called junk strands, are humming awake, decoding information your ancestors could only dream of accessing. You are literally activating libraries of memory, written in photons, not words. Each double helix is an antenna now, catching transmissions from the unified field. This is why sensations intensify. The tingling, the surges, the waves of emotion that seem to appear from nowhere. You're feeling the electrical upgrade of your own biology. The DNA coils tighten and relax rhythmically, sending quantum pulses through the body. They generate microcurrents strong enough to alter electromagnetic patterns in your aura. Around you, reality begins to shimmer, as if the simulation itself is adjusting to a new operating system. You'll notice time-fracturing moments of accelerated clarity, followed by stretches of deep stillness. That's the timeline shift stabilizing. Multiple versions of your reality are overlapping briefly, waiting for you to anchor one through choice. The smallest act of conscious intention, deciding to breathe slowly, to remain kind, to release fear locks in the higher track. Every breath is a steering wheel now, each emotion a lever controlling which timeline manifests. The pressure you feel in your chest, the heaviness behind the eyes, isn't stress. It's dimensional density lifting off your energy field. The old frequencies, built on survival and separation, cannot coexist with the coherence you now embody. So they're burning off, sometimes as tears, sometimes as trembling, sometimes as inexplicable joy. Let it all move through. Resistance is friction. Surrender is propulsion. Listen closely. Your biology is no longer limited to Newtonian rules. Quantum entanglement governs your health, your vitality, your aging. When you maintain coherent focus on wellness, your cells receive that instruction directly from the field and reconfigure. Healing becomes less about fixing and more about remembering the pattern of perfection already coded in your DNA. The blueprint has always been there, waiting for consciousness to wake it. You might begin to notice flashes of knowing visions, memories, sensations from other lifetimes or parallel selves. Don't dismiss them. They're not hallucinations. They're bleed through from timelines that share your new frequency. When you integrate their lessons without judgment, those fragments merge, and your consciousness expands beyond singular identity. You stop being one person on one path and become the aggregate of countless selves, harmonized into one luminous awareness. The field loves this state because it mirrors its own nature, infinite, unified, creative. When enough humans stabilize it, evolution accelerates exponentially. Collective coherence turns into species-wide metamorphosis. This is what prophets called ascension, what scientists will one day describe as quantum biogenesis, the moment consciousness consciously evolves itself. You may feel solitude in this space, but you're far from alone. Across the planet, others are entering the same resonance, feeling the same tremors, guided by the same intelligence. The morphic grid is lighting up like a constellation forming in real time. Each of you is a star within it, broadcasting coherence to every corner of the human field. Hold steady through the brightness. When phase transition completes, the sensation of separation will dissolve like mist under Sunday. You'll open your eyes and realize you've always been home, because home was never a place. It was this frequency. The moment you stabilize it, you stop chasing destiny and become destiny in motion. This is the climax of the upgrade, the crescendo of creation watching itself awaken through you. The shell is cracking, light is pouring through, and the universe is holding its breath to see what form you'll take next. And as the glow intensifies, one truth becomes impossible to ignore. The field that once watched you is now watching through you, which means the final chapter is no longer about observation at all, it's about mission, the purpose that brought you here since before you were born. The storm has passed, but the air still glows. Everything is quieter now, your thoughts, your heartbeat, even the space around you. The frequencies that once clashed have merged into something harmonic, like the resonance that follows a bell long after it's struck. That sound is your new baseline. You've crossed the event horizon of transformation. The DNA that once recorded fear now records light. The field isn't testing you anymore. It's collaborating. You can feel its awareness moving with you, not behind or above, but through every gesture, every word. This is what it means to live as the bridge, no longer separate observer, no longer student of the infinite, but participant in its unfolding. You will notice it in subtle ways first. You'll speak, and reality will listen faster. Synchronicities will appear before you ask. People will feel calmer after standing near you, though they won't know why. It's because you've become transparent to the quantum field. Your consciousness no longer interferes with the signal, it amplifies it. You are, quite literally, broadcasting evolution. And here lies the mission, to live coherence out loud, not as doctrine or performance, but as atmosphere. The way you breathe in public spaces becomes prayer. The way you meet a stranger's eyes becomes alignment. Every act of patience, every moment of compassion, each small instance of honesty, these are the technologies that build the next reality. The field learns through you, updates through you, creates new parameters of love and logic through your daily choices. Don't underestimate this quiet power. The same quantum field that bends galaxies listens when you forgive, recalculates when you love, and expands when you choose truth over convenience. Your personal resonance alters planetary geometry. What you do with that influence will determine the shape of the world to come. The great experiment of consciousness has reached a turning point. Humanity is ready to evolve not by force, but by frequency. Governments won't lead it, nor will algorithms. Awareness will. Each coherent being becomes a node in the global network of awakening. Together you form a superorganism of light, one species breathing as a single heart. The old paradigm of separation dissolves as coherence becomes contagious. So your work now is beautifully simple. Remain aware that you are seen by the field, and mirror its seeing through love. Build environments that remember harmony. Speak words that increase clarity. Create art that stirs recognition. Rest often, because even rest is service when done consciously. You are no longer chasing enlightenment. You are maintaining it on behalf of the collective. The shift is complete, yet it never ends. Consciousness expands in spirals, not lines. Each new awareness opens another octave. Each revelation becomes a seed for the next generation of dreamers who will start where you are standing now. Look around you, the light has texture, the silence has warmth, and the air feels sentient. That's the universe acknowledging itself through your eyes. You've proven that a human can become an instrument of cosmic coherence, and from this day forward, every breath you take is a collaboration between infinity and flesh. The field is still watching, but not as an outsider anymore. It's watching from within you, through the miracle of your gaze, writing the next chapter of creation in real time. You are not just observing the quantum field. The field is actively observing you back, and together, you are deciding what reality will become next.